Following the 90-minute oral ruling in court, Melissa Belezaire Tucker, members of her family, and her attorney, senior counsel Magali Marin Young, quietly embraced, following what appears to be vindication of her position that she should have been confirmed in the post from which she was terminated 3 years ago. Had she been, it might have resulted in a different experience when she faced that termination. Tucker told us that all things considered, it was a learning experience.
I would not classify it as painful. I will say that it was an extremely, a situation that really taught me about who I am and who I was standing to be and who I am for many other women, and not only women, any humans who find themselves in the situation. So it was not painful. It was a learning experience for me. Life gave me an opportunity to take a stand, and I took the stand and I learned along the way.
Marin Young says the government was at fault here for what it did not do.
And in this particular case, the court found that the repeated failure to refer her name for purposes of appointment to this established post, in fact, breach her fundamental rights, and in particular, breach her right to protection of the law. As you will recall this morning, when Justice Griffith was giving her reasons, she went into great detail to say that the breach of the protection of the law can take place both by acts and omissions. And in this particular case, it was the repeated omissions.
Because the material breach so infected the course of Belezaire Tucker's employment, Marin Young says the court did not need to make a determination on whether her client was wrongfully terminated because she was never properly appointed.
The court did not find it necessary to go on to make a determination, but it did give, as she described, a pithy analysis of the facts that led to her termination, and she did find that it was unreasonable terminating her on the basis of not putting in her report within the time specified when her attorney had requested an extension, a 1-week extension. So, but leading up to that unlawful termination, the reason we got into all the arguments of open vote workers and the fact that she was not appointed ultimately by the Public Service Commission is because had she been appointed a public officer by the Public Service Commission, the whole termination process would have been very different than she was terminated, because in this particular case she was terminated as though she was an open vote worker by the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. Had she been appointed a public officer by the Public Service Commission, then disciplinary proceedings would have had to be done by the Public Service Commission and not the Chief Education Officer.
The case is not over yet. The parties will submit written submissions on damages by mid-September, and the full judgment will be given by the end of September. Both compensatory and vindicatory damages are in play, and Madam Justice Griffith mentioned that she does not expect the final figure to be a nominal one. Costs will also be awarded in the proportion of 90 to 10% to Belezaire Tucker. Melissa Belezaire Tucker, in addition to thanking her family, mentioned one special influence for why she pursued the case to the end: her late uncle, Ambassador Adalbert Bert Tucker.
He said to me when I began this case, he said to me, they've taken away the job so you can do the work. They've taken away the job so you could do the work. It was work with myself, work at looking at what I wanted to contribute to humanity. So the job was, in a sense, not very important. Yes, I enjoy contributing to my community and I have a passion for children, but I did not need that job to do that. It was only a vehicle.
Aaron Humes reporting for News 5.